All the time now is 11 o'clock. Welcome back. This is Newslink. Taking you to live visuals out in Diepkloof in Soweto with eNCA reporter Heidi Giokos. Heidi, once again, good morning, colleague. What is happening from where you stand?
Yes, Tumalo, we do understand that rubber bullets have now been fired at the community of Diepkloof here in Soweto. The community, of course, retaliating by throwing stones. So we just have to be a little bit careful in terms of what's going on here. But police in Yala came, gas was fired at the community to try and disperse the crowd. It's getting rather volatile in terms of the community really throwing stones. So we have to be absolutely careful in terms of how we cover this, but it is of course getting volatile because now the police in Yala has come through, rubber bullets are being fired, the community is actually coming out in full force, throwing stones at the one police officer that's at the moment right there trying to disperse the crowd. The community not having it. They indicated to us that they will be coming back. This is Chris Hani Road here in Soweto, very busy road leading into and out of Soweto at this point. And the community is, of course, not backing down. They continue throwing stones at the police in Yala. They are now moving back because the police in Yala is moving in. It seems as though there's one community member over there that's just resilient and does not want to stop. He's holding what seems to be part of a street light pole. The police in Yala is, of course, going to be moving in. The community, however, is, of course, dispersing. At the heart of all of this is the fact that there is no electricity in this area. They are concerned about housing and as well as ablution facilities that they feel as though they just do not have at this point. This road has, of course, been completely blocked off. The traffic is backing up. The community is moving in. I'm sure Naku is showing you at this point what is exactly going on here with the community walking towards the Nyala, almost showing as though they want to engage, or they are basically saying that I can't hear at this point what they are saying, Tumelo, but they are moving in, and the police are now trying to obviously find a way to figure this out.
Heidi, do you know when this actually started, this sense of volatility? I mean, at some point it seemed that the protest had died down when we last had a conversation. Yes, we also saw Enyala coming through, but it seemed it was just engagements between members of the SAPS. But when and how did it get to this point, as we're seeing on our screens?
Careful, guys. Yes, so the community did, of course, try their best to just let things die down a bit after engaging with community members. Sorry, there was just a stun grenade that was thrown now to obviously disperse the crowd. But it seems as though the community indicated that they were going to just let things die down for a little bit. And then it suddenly sparked up again. We were inside the community, engaging with community members, and they indicated that they were going to just let things settle for a little bit. But as you can see right now, there is a lot of volatility at the moment. They are firing rubber bullets. It seems as though somebody has been shot at this point. If I can just ask my colleague Naku to just come with me, as the community is now trying their best to run at this point, but it's obviously, I think what's also important to highlight is the fact that you have people that are selling. They have a business on the side here, and they are indicating that they aren't the ones causing the violence, and the police need to stop shooting with rubber bullets at this point. There was one police in Yala that was on that side. It seems as though it has since moved back into the community. Traffic seems to be opening up again at this point, but we're not sure whether or not the community is going to come back onto the main road, because that is how they seem to be getting the attention of the police and authorities to say, we will not stop until something is done about it. I see no community members at this point. I only see one particular community member, and the police seem to be firing back Tumelo.
Heidi, we can definitely see there taxi also just reversing, I think, witnessing what's happening right now, the standoff between community members and the police at this stage. Also that Nyala moving moving in. I suppose also just reiterating for safety there, colleague, as you try and give us these visuals. But I mean, at the heart of this, as you mentioned before, Heidi, was a lack of service delivery, lack of abolition facilities, the hostel residents saying that you find as many as 11 in one room. I mean, no government official as yet, Heidi, to try and come and resolve this matter with the residents?
Yes, Tumelo, it seems as things are getting rather volatile at this point, with things being thrown from the left and from the right at this point. Community members are now starting to throw bottles, rocks at the police that are moving in. The community members seem to be running further down Diepkloof. I'm going to be brave and just ask my colleague Noku to just come with me, so we can just try and move in where the police are at this point. We have to, of course, be careful because the community seems to be ducking and diving and hiding, and throwing rocks and stones and bottles. But the community has moved in, Tumelo, and these scenes weren't as volatile about a week or two ago when the community of Diepkloof decided to protest again. But this road and this section is a very familiar one because it's the residents from this hostel, from this area, that are complaining about a lack of electricity, a lack of housing, a lack of ablution facilities, and they've decided to actually block the main road. And police are now trying to not be outnumbered in terms of the community coming out, because there were many community members really coming out and saying that they want to really get the message across. There's one or two community members that seem to be moving in here, and the police are trying their very best to disperse as many community members that seem to be still retaliating in some form or another. Behind me at the moment, I'm just going to speak to what I'm seeing. The motorists just keep driving, even though there's massive rocks blocking the road, and they are of course trying to just continue with traffic flowing, but it seems as though the police are really trying to control the situation. I'm going to ask Noku to just show you those police officers there are adamant to try and get the community back inside the hostel. You can see further down that the community is standing by and actually looking on as to what's going on. I see two police signalas on my left. Further up there may be another one or two police signalas, but there's a high police presence in terms of really trying to control the situation. Rubber bullets are still being fired. We've seen stun grenades as well as tear gas to get the community as far away as possible and possibly open up the road again for Melo.
You also mentioned earlier on, some people, or I suppose hawkers selling on the side, trying to indicate to the police that they're not involved at all with the protest and the police should not shoot their way. Are they still safe? Are they still conducting their business as usual?
Yes, I'm not sure if we can maybe go down. It might be a little bit difficult at this point, Tumelo, but you can see my colleague Noku is showing you that they are okay. A stun grenade has been shot into the actual community, so they are trying their very best to disperse as many people as possible. But these people that are selling here on the side and that have these businesses seem to be carrying on to some degree, obviously taking cover because there was a lot of volatility at that particular area. But it seems as though it has quietened down there as the community has started moving in. The question is, how is the community going to retaliate in terms of their reaction to the police firing rubber bullets, stun grenades and tear gas? But the community seems to be coming out. I mean, if you see further down there where Noku's currently showing you, you can actually see the community starting to come out. And that's possibly because on that side, we don't actually see any police presence or police inyalas at this particular point. It's more to the left-hand side, as I mentioned, two police inyalas, a police van, and the police are more situated on this side, trying to get the community back inside to obviously calm the situation down.
Also, just in terms of the numbers, you had mentioned earlier on that you had seen, more police officers coming in, Heidi, just so that they're not outnumbered. I mean, at this point, do the police, think they have everything under control? Is there a sense of confidence that they're not outnumbered, they have the situation under control, or do you witness a scene whereby they might be overwhelmed? Should that, of course, many residents and community members make their way to, of course, charge at the police and make their way towards the police?
It's not that the police are overwhelmed. I think they are trying to control the situation. It does seem very volatile at this particular point because they do not know how many people they are dealing with. They do not know what is inside the community and what... let's just go on this side, Noku, where you can actually see those two police officers are now starting to actually move into the community. It's got a lot to do with the fact that this community is very angry. We do know that a beer truck was looted in the early hours of this morning, and the police are obviously trying to find a way to make sure that they are not outnumbered. At this point, you definitely see more community members more than you see police officers, but there is a high police presence. Just from my eye, from where I'm standing, I see about 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5, 6 police officers currently. That's just to my left. Behind me, I see 3 police vans. So there is a high police presence, and I must emphasize the fact that the police reacted very quickly, Tumelo, because when we got here just after 6 o'clock this morning, there were already police in Yala Station. They were already trying to find a way to calm the situation down and figure out how they're going to open up the road. They opened up the road very quickly. Even this road now is currently open, even though there's debris everywhere and rubble from this protest. But this could go either way. And something else that was also mentioned by a community member, I think it was information that was unwillingly given, but, it's quite important to emphasize that about 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago, we do know that a truck was looted with explosives. And we were told that the community had thought that it was actually food, and then they realized that it was explosives. The police had to go into the community and beg the community members to return the explosives. Whether or not all explosives were retrieved is unknown at this particular point, but that also remains a concern, is that the community might still be in possession of those explosives. We don't know how angry they will get and whether or not they will use that. So that might also emphasize the fact that there's such a high police presence, and they are trying their very best to calm the situation down. I want to go further down because I want to figure out what's going on, but we are on a hill, so it might be a little bit difficult. I'm going to ask Noko if we can just walk further down here and just station ourselves next to the police in Yala so we can figure out. We are at an advantage point though, standing up here so we can see what's going on. But the police are of course trying to calm the situation down. To my right, if Noku can just quickly show you those visuals while we walk down, the community seems to be gathering further up there again, and that's again, as I emphasized, because there is no police presence at the particular moment. So at this point, it might look like it's calm, but we just don't know how the community is going to react and if the police are going to start moving in further.
Yeah. Well, Heidi, I mean, definitely seeing that it's kind of toned down just from what visuals we've seen just a moment ago of that, exchange between the police as well as to community members throwing rocks. And one, I remember holding that pole, so you could see that they were quite adamant that they were not going to back down just in terms of that confrontation with members of the police. As you make your way towards what we see here as hawkers and people just standing by on the sidelines. I'm not sure if you could see anything else in terms of motorists, perhaps even still trying to drive down through this road. We saw previously a taxi reversing. I think they could just calculate and gauge that this wasn't necessarily a safe road to travel to at that time. But seemingly at this point, still very much calm with police presence there.
Yes, I just want to also say that I actually just overheard some of those that were standing there where food is being sold here, just at the bottom of the main Chris Hani Road, here into the entrance of Diepkloof, where they were saying, don't retaliate, please, because we are trying to we are working here, and somebody else was saying, I'm actually here to eat. The one taxi driver was saying, but I'm just here to buy food. And the police officer saying, I need you to move your vehicle now. And actually, I can see this taxi driver is now trying to get out, but the Signala is also trying to maneuver its way. So I think there's a lot of panic at this point because we just don't know how it's going to turn out. And police are trying to make sure that it doesn't get too volatile. From the hand signals I am seeing and the indication that I am getting from these police officers, it seems as though they want to move back to the end of Diepkloof Hostel, where I was showing you earlier on, where the community members were gathering, and I said there was no police presence there. So I'm going to just try and get a sense of where the Signala is going, which it seems as though it is heading in that direction. So at this point, Tumelo, it seems as though things are trying to be brought under control, but obviously still very volatile. As the community indicated, they will not stop until they get electricity, and they will not stop until something is done about this.
All right, Heidi Giokos, we're going to leave it there for now. Of course, as we're seeing, definitely members of the SAPS, those Nyalis as well, just walking past, still very much looking and gauging the situation, the environment at this point with some of those community members who are charging at them. It seems taxis now can almost drive freely. Previously, we had seen some motorists having to maneuver through rocks on the road and one having to reverse. But at this stage, it seems like it has calmed down out at the Diepkloof Hostel. At the heart of this engagement, or rather confrontation, is community members really lamenting lack of service delivery, lack of abolition facilities, hostels being overcrowded, and they want, of course, to be addressed, and they want the services around the area to also be provided for. So that's Heidi Giokos for us out in Soweto. As soon as there are any other developments, we will be sure to catch up with Heidi Giokos once again.